Hey, friends, Amanda here. Welcome back to another episode of Unbottled Potential. Today, we are continuing a conversation we've been having over the past 4 or 5 episodes about navigating your social life and navigating friendships and your social potential as a non drinker. Now, if you have not listened to episodes 9 through 12, I highly recommend you go back and do that. There are going to be some tips that I refer back to, and ultimately, we're just going to build upon what I've talked about over the last few episodes. And today, we're going to talk about strategies for being sober and social. And I'm going to give you some of my tried and true techniques for navigating your social life as a non drinker, because again, this is one of the most common fears and questions that people throw at me when they are debating whether or not they should quit drinking. They're afraid that they're going to become a social recluse. They're afraid they're going to become an outcast. They're afraid they won't be able to perform socially, that their anxiety will overwhelm them, that people simply won't like them, that they will not be fun or be able to have fun. And let me just tell you what, your social life will probably change as a non drinker, but it's all for the better. And some of the things that used to satisfy you back in your earlier years, or maybe even in most recent years, what you'll start to find is that they're going to start to become a little unfulfilling. And in reality, they've probably already started to become unfulfilling. And you just haven't fully realized it because you've been drinking your way through it. You've been drinking your way through mind numbing situations, and you've numbed your mind to get through them. And that's okay. Guess what? When that is your only strategy, you have to employ what you have available. But today, I want to offer you some more strategies so that you can more mindfully go into your social life and actually create a really rad social life that you enjoy, that exhilarates you, no matter if you feel that you are an extrovert, an introvert. I know that sometimes these labels can have us think that we need to perform in a different way or we need something specific socially. And I actually want you to set all of those aside right now. And today I'm going to give you some of the tried and true techniques, strategies, opportunities that I share with my clients and that I've used in my own life. And I want you to take this with a grain of salt, because knowing that everyone's personality is different, the ways in which we get along in society are different. And I also want you to be open, because there's a part of you that's going to say, that thing she's saying, that's not for me because I'm an introvert or I have anxiety or I'm an extrovert. I want you to pause anytime you feel yourself dipping into that story today. And I want you to say, you know what? I'm going to give it a try, because how do I know until I try? The only thing I don't want you to try is something where your body feels completely unsafe. But I don't think that I'm going to be giving you any of those tips as solutions today, or those types of opportunities today. Typically, it's going to be a specific environment, and I'll talk about how to deal with that. So today I want to go through kind of the buffet of options that you have as a non-drinker as to how to approach your social life. And some of this might seem really mundane. Maybe you're like, this isn't a problem for me, and that's okay. Then you can skip this episode. But if you've been wondering how to navigate and integrate yourself into a vibrant social life where you feel like you're showing up with integrity, you're showing up with authenticity, you're showing up free from anxiety and all of the fears that maybe you've been using alcohol to hide, this is a great episode for you, because I'm going to give you a smattering of options of how you can choose to recreate your social life in a way that feels good for you. Really, as a drinker, what we're doing is we're picking up options that other people are giving us that are socially acceptable and easy to access and of the social norm. And many times those options aren't really what we uniquely need for ourselves, for our soul. Because guess what? We are wired for human connection. We are wired to be social creatures. We need that social connection. And really, you're not getting that much of it when you're drinking, when you're going out partying. What you're getting is interaction, you're getting stimulation, but you're really not typically getting deep connection. And that's what I want to optimize for today. So I'm going to give you a lot of options. Take it, take what feels good to you, but also don't reject an option just because it feels a little scary. I want you to stretch yourself. I want you to test that today. So the first reminder I'm going to give you, the first option I'm going to give you, is to try the old things that you used to do as a drinker, just to see if they're still fun. There are going to be some things that you used to do and you used to infuse with alcohol that actually you're still really going to love. And for me, those things include, dancing. They include going to concerts. So many things that I used to do where I thought alcohol was necessary that I've actually been able to find so much more enjoyment in as a drinker, as a non-drinker. I just can't tell you how much I've enjoyed going to some of these things, participating in some of these events, and actually being fully present and having full control of my body and my mind and choosing what I say and how long I stay, and knowing that if I was awkward, it's because I just had an awkward moment. And guess what? Everyone does. And not choosing to just let myself be myself and knowing that that's good. It's not only good, it's great. And then I've also tried old things that aren't quite the same without alcohol in the picture. They seem boring, they seem dull, they seem monotonous and mundane, they seem superficial, they seem just not for me. Yet I'm so glad that I've tried and I put myself out there so that I can know what's a yes for me and what's a no. I have made a habit of trying old things just to see. Now, I've also made some compromises to where I can try a little bit of the old thing, but not the full old thing. A great example of this is I think I've told this story to some of you before that my friends, my first there's this like wine festival and chili cook-off out in the Texas Hill Country. It's about an hour away from Austin. And so what most people do during this time is they take a party bus out there. And on the party bus, you drink all the way out there. Then you're on this winery property. So you drink wine and sample chili. I know it sounds a little like an odd combination, but I didn't create it. And then you get back on the bus significantly more drunk than you were before you left, and you drink all the way back. And I did this the first year I arrived here, and it was a grand time until I got back. And then I remember I definitely was not the best version of myself. Let's just say that. And so the year that I quit drinking, the Chili and Wine Festival rolled around, and I decided, you know what? I don't think I can do that at all. I do not think I can get on that bus. And so I chose not to participate whatsoever. I just said that is not for me. And we'll get to saying no in just a minute. Then the third time I had the option to go on this trip, I decided, you know what would be really great? I would love to go out there and be out in Texas Hill Country at the winery and spend some time there. But I just cannot get on that bus back. And you know what happened? One of my friends wanted to participate in the cook-off. He wanted to actually be in the chili competition, but he really, really, really wanted to be on that party bus back. And so I said, let's make a compromise. You take my car out there, you drive it up, set it up for the chili cook-off, and then when the chili cook-off's over, we'll load up the stuff. I'll take my car back and you'll get on the bus. And he was so excited. This was an epic opportunity because he got to have the best of both worlds, and so did I. Now, granted, my car smelled like chili for a couple days, but that's beside the point. But there were creative options for me to have similar old experiences, but not thrust myself back into this rowdy, crazy bus ride home. And guess what? It's a good thing I didn't, because you know what? I would have been the caretaker of all the drunk people. And if I remember right, that year there was a young woman who was particularly drunk who ended up like urinating herself, and it was just a shit show on the bus back. So I'm so glad that my friend Eric was there in my stead and I didn't have to deal with any of that. So I got to have the best of both worlds. And I want you to know that as you open your mind to creative possibilities will present themselves for you. There are always opportunities for you to have just enough of that thing that your friends are doing and then dip out when it's not time for you to be there anymore. And you'll learn that, but the only way to learn is sometimes if you try and see how much of this do I want to participate in? When is it that the energy changes in this room to where I no longer feel like I'm a match for what everyone else has going on? And I really want you to start to be present in the energy of what it feels like to be fully present, to be present and connected with your friends. And then what happens when the energy shifts? Because in a room where a lot of people are drinking, at some point the energy will shift. And because you're going to be open to some of these energies, some of these experiences, you're going to start to feel it. And if you can become very perceptive and notice, okay, boom, the energy just shifted. It's time for me to make my way out. You're actually going to be able to have this superpower where you do get to have all of these experiences that are really amazing for you. Now, I do want to give a caveat. I want you to test the waters and see which old things are a good fit for you, with one exception. If the old thing, the old activity is going to threaten you to break a commitment that you've made to yourself, for me, it's a no. You do not have to go to the party, the event, the outing, the whatever, if you don't think that you can stick to the commitment you've made to yourself. Because here's the thing, my friend, the most important part of this journey is to build self-confidence and self-worth. And if you put yourself in a situation where you don't feel strong and you renegotiate / have a slip up the commitment that you've made to yourself, guess what? Number one, it's not the end of the world. It's a great learning opportunity. And I would rather you not go into a downhill spiral. I would rather you stay on a consistent track. So if going to an event or an outing or a happy hour or whatever feels like it might push you over the edge, just don't go. Guess what? You are not going to get uninvited, disowned, or whatever your biggest fear is from skipping a few events. And if for some reason you do, then let me tell you what, those friends were shitty friends in the first place, and they're not probably friends that are going to elevate you to the next level, nor are they people that you need to associate with. So I've very rarely encountered people who have been disowned from their friend groups. I'm actually trying to think of a solid opportunity right now. I can't. And missing out, skipping a few events, let me promise you, you're not going to miss out on anything profound. You are not going to miss out on any connection, and people will continue to invite you. I promise you that they will, especially if you tell them when you decline the event, hey, I am committed to being alcohol free right now. I'm really not confident that I can stick to that commitment and go to this event. So right now for me, it's a no, but I would love to. Please don't quit inviting me. Please keep inviting me. And I promise, I know that at some point I'll feel up to attending, up to participating. I want you to just stink and be honest with your friends. There's no need to hide. There's no need to admit defeat of any kind. I am doing this right now. And so for me, this event is a no because I don't feel like I can keep the commitment I've made to myself, but don't forget about me. Keep asking, please. And that's all you have to say. This doesn't have to be some sort of dramatic breakup or exit or anything from all of your social activities. You get to choose and you get to be empowered by it and you get to exemplify that empowerment to other people. And so often we want to hunker down, we want to be ashamed, but you're doing something important for yourself. If you know, I know that you have a deeper why. If you go back to episode 6, where I talk about building a script and how to tell people that you're not drinking, you will get some more examples of this. But I know that deep down you have an empowering, amazing reason that you are not drinking alcohol. And if you were saying to your friends, "Well, I'm running a marathon, I'm training for a marathon, so I'm not drinking right now," that would feel enough for you. But for some reason, you're striving for your truest potential, striving to feel happy, striving to feel healthy. We get ashamed of that. And that is not something to be ashamed of. It is okay to say to your friends, I'm not drinking right now because I have big goals in my life. I want to fulfill my potential and I don't feel like alcohol is helping me get there. So I'm taking a break right now. That is bold and baller as shit, my friend. And I want you to be proud of saying those things. And maybe you're not right now, but I want you to practice saying those to yourself every morning. I'm not drinking right now because I have big things to do in my life and alcohol is getting in the way. I want you to remind yourself of that. And someday, at some point, you will feel confident enough to say that to another person, I promise. Okay, went on a little bit of a tangent there. Let me go to the second point, which is try new things. You get to go out and try new things and decide what you want and what you like. And this is going to feel a little edgy for you if you've been stuck in social patterns. Like me, we had a pretty strict routine of what we did and when, and trying new things felt scary. Yet trying new things can also be so exhilarating. And I want to give you an extra challenge. I know that it might be really tempting to use the buddy system when you go out and try new things. And I actually want to encourage you to try new things on your own so that you don't have kind of a crutch to fall back on. I want you to really experience what it's like to go out there and be your own person and not be affected by the energies and the social norms of what has always been in your social group. So when you are trying new things, I want you to be very specific about what you're trying out, what types of events you're trying out. And I'm going to give you some techniques here. So I would love for you to get on Instagram, Eventbrite. I'm trying to think of lots of different places. I don't care how big or small your town is. There are events and there are meetups happening that you haven't heard about yet. So I don't want you to poo-poo on this and say, well, my town doesn't do that or da 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 da. No, I promise you that there are things within your town or within the next biggest town that you can do. Some great places to look for events. Like I said, Eventbrite, Instagram, go to your local coffee shop, bookstore, metaphysical store. Almost all of them, health food store, almost all of them are going to have a bulletin board where there's going to be all kinds of events listed. There is no telling how many events you might see. And if one of them sparks your attention, I want you to take it down and I want you to say, you know what? I'm going to try it. I'm going to try new things. And I want you to go and I want you to go alone. And then I want you to see what happens because you are going to be astounded with how well you're able to show up when you're not performing, when you're not stuck in this routine. And what you can do in these situations, if someone doesn't come up to you first, because be prepared, people are going to feel this new energy that you're in, and they're going to be magnetized to you. And you can also go and approach new people. And you'll know what to do. Guess what? As your attention, your intuition comes back online, you're going to be drawn to people. So look for people who just seem warm and seem friendly and go up and have a conversation with them. A great example is recently at an event that I went to alone. I knew I would know a few people, but not super well. And luckily it was kind of people in the wellness space. So it was, they weren't going to serve alcohol there. It was BYOB, but they're a little bit younger than me. And I was a little intimidated, like who was going to be here? Am I going to meet anyone who I want to hang out with? What if they all know each other? You know, I still had 6 years out, all of those fears reeling through my head. You still get new person syndrome, no matter what's happening. But I went to this event and there was this girl there who just had the warmest smile and I just felt magnetized to her. I just felt like I like her energy. Her name is Molly. She's going to be on this podcast. And I said, I said hello to her because she was talking to one of my other friends. And then I just got this intuitive nudge midway through the party. I'm like, I need to go find that Molly gal again. I actually really liked her energy. And my intuition was right. She is one of the warmest souls. We actually have a lot of congruences in the businesses that we run and the way that we live life. And I can tell that we're going to be great friends. And I can't wait to introduce you to her because I think that you will really be inspired by her light as well. But you will start to be drawn to people, their energy and their presence as you're able to tap into energy, as you're able to feel a little bit more, as you're able to be in your intuition. And I just want you to, for now, look around the room, look at the people who are available to talk to, maybe even just find someone who isn't talking to anyone and see it as a courtesy and a kindness to them that you're going to go start a conversation with them. And here's as difficult as it has to be. You can just say, hey, my name's Amanda. Have you been to an event here before? Hey, my name's Amanda. Would you like to, grab an appetizer with me or whatever is at the event? Just, it doesn't have to be profound. Guess what? This is like pickup line 101. These things don't have to be clever. Hey, my name's Amanda. Do you know anyone here? How did you hear about this event? I really like your shirt. People love to be complimented. You can start a conversation, and not all of these conversations will be hits, but you are flexing the muscle of socializing yourself again. You are flexing the muscle of practicing making new friends. And guess what? If it flops, which I don't know what would define a flop because I can't think of any situation that I've been in where I've put myself under these challenges and I've ever flopped, you leave and you never see most of those people again. But I promise you, it's very unlikely that's going to happen. You are going to make a new friend. And then all you have to do is say this: hey, I really enjoyed talking to you. Am really new to this community and would love to reconnect. Could I get your Instagram? Could I get your phone number? These are things that we expect men to do. If I have primarily female listeners, we expect men to do in the dating scene. So be bold and learn to do the pickup artistry of a friend. Learn to approach people, have conversations, and then say, if you genuinely enjoyed the time together, I enjoyed talking to you. I'd love to connect again. I'm new to this community. I'm giving you this is as simple as it has to be, my friends. These are simple scripts that you can use at any situation. All right. And I use almost these verbatim. Okay. So now that you have a couple of options of how to try old things and integrate into your old social activities and challenge yourself into new social activities, I'm going to give you some kind of guardrails by which to operate under. And these are kind of easy. They're easy. They're not profound, but they're maybe things that people have never given you permission to do before. All right. And so I'm just going to pop through these and take what feels good and let me know how it goes. So my first operational guideline is to go early and leave early. I think that the more sober connection you can have with people, so the more connection you can have on a similar energetic level, the better. And so if you go early, you optimize the amount of sober time you get to spend with the people there. Sometimes I will even offer, if someone is hosting and I know the host, to go and help them set up, but I almost always try to get there as early as possible. Now, there are some people out there who would say, if there's like a happy hour or something that you want to go late, you want to go as late as possible so you don't have to confront the happy hour madness. I personally choose the opposite strategy just because I want to make sure that I'm having as much one-on-one connected time with people as possible. But if you feel that you're going to be tempted by the happy hour scene and you really have to go to the event, like you can't say no, then in that case, I'm okay with the avoid happy hour and just show up for what's necessary. But what I want you to know is that people are rarely going to notice how long you stay. People aren't like monitoring you like a secret detective and noticing when you come in and when you leave, even if they're hosting events. They're not, that's not what they're memorizing. Okay. So go early, maximize sober time, and then tune into that energy. And when you feel the energy shift, leave. It's no longer productive to be there. You're no longer connecting. You're no longer making connection. Everyone else is on a different energetic frequency, and that's fine. But 9 times out of 10, nothing productive, fun, or epic is going to happen after the hours of 10:30 or 11. So just leave. All right. Of course, I want you to have a script when you go to any event, just in case you come into the situation where you want to talk a little bit more about the fact that you're not drinking. Again, episode 6 is the place to go if you want to formulate your script. In events where I know that someone else is invited or several of my friends are going, I do like to use the buddy system. That way I can arrive with someone who I know. Again, this is counterintuitive, or this is a counter argument to the go alone when you're trying new things. But at events, when I have a friend who's going to be there as well, I usually just offer to be the sober driver. Everyone loves a free sober ride. And my friends are not of the age that they're like pre-gaming or anything anymore. So they usually just appreciate the fact that I'm willing to pick them up. And then guess what? I have extra connection time with that friend, with that buddy that I've driven there. I have extra connection time. Now, I always make it clear that I probably am not going to stay the whole time. So I might not be there ride home. And the cool thing that happens is if I'm up to it, either that person does want to leave at the same time and wants the ride home, or somebody else will be like, oh, you're leaving and you're sober. Please, can I get a ride? And so it's really likely that you're always going to find someone else who's super grateful that you're leaving. I've rarely had an empty car when I go to and from events. I just have always been, because I expect it, I've always been very blessed that someone is ready to go with me. And I think that I make those people's day because they get to have extra time with me, they get to have extra connection time, and they get a safe ride. And some of them who don't want to be at the event any longer either have someone who's giving them a permission slip to leave when otherwise they would have felt obligated to stick it out and wait around for other people to go. So I think that your decision to be a buddy to other people is actually a blessing to them, not only to you, but also to them. Now, something that I'll talk about quite frequently is how to prepare yourself. This is a step I do not want you to skip. I do not want you to skip preparing for an event, calibrating your nervous system. As someone who is used to having alcohol as a buffer, what you might find is that sometimes events are a little overstimulating and big groups of people are overwhelming, especially if you identify as an introvert, someone who maybe rates on the anxiety scale, but most specifically, if you are someone who identifies as a deep feeler. Now, I wrote an article all about this. I'll do a whole podcast episode on this. I'll link the article in the show notes. But if you are someone who is a deep feeler, you experience feelings, emotions, and energy on a deep, profound level, you are probably going to find that without alcohol kind of dulling down your emotions and your sensitivities, that your nervous system is really easily triggered and overwhelmed. And that doesn't have to mean like a scary type of trigger, like you're in fight or flight. You just might feel drained energetically. Basically, you might feel drained and overstimulated easily. So, if you identify as a deep feeler, I want you to prepare, and even if you don't, just prepare yourself. Okay. I want you to get into a stance of, I'm ready to go into this event. I'm open for miracles. I'm open for this to be an amazing experience versus rushing out the door and not being prepared at all. Every time I've rushed through an event, I've almost always felt energetically overwhelmed. And every time I've prepared, I felt really good. And I do this even before dates. I do this anytime I'm going to have a social engagement just because I want to calibrate my nervous system. So I do a really quick meditation. I do maybe some breath work. I sit down and I just I intend and I attune to the possibility, the probability that this is going to be a great event. This is going to be a great experience for me, that I am open to creative experience. I'm open to connection with new people, that I am able to be in a room and bring my light, beautiful energy and not absorb any energy from those that I do not want to take on. I set kind of a protective boundary around myself to be an energetic mirror, basically, that I can radiate back positive energy, but then I'm not going to suck in anyone else's wonky energy. And this has been a really important part of my practice. I actually have meditations on this topic if you want access to those. You really want to prepare yourself to be in the presence of others when you've been used to numbing out. I think that you'll find this to be very profound. And it doesn't have to be, I'm not telling you to take hours to prepare. Take 5 minutes to set the intention that this is going to be a positive experience, to set the intention that you're going to stay regulated in your nervous system, and to set the intention that you're not going to take on other people's energy, that you are safe and protected, and that you're going to have a rockin' badass time. When you do this, you are so much more likely to perceive things with a different eye. Okay. And you're more likely to be excited and to really enjoy the environment versus if you go into it with like, oh, this is going to suck. Everyone else is going to be drinking and I'm going to be sober and and you just are a negative Nancy. If you are, and sorry if your name's Nancy, you're not all negative, but you know what I mean? You are going to have, if you perceive and prepare yourself for a negative experience, you're more likely to attract a negative experience versus if you prepare yourself for a positive or neutral experience, you're more likely to have that. So I really want you to practice calibrating your nervous system and setting some intention for events instead of just rushing out the door. I want you to center yourself. Now, also understanding that because you are now an open vessel to receive and experience energy, that your energy might not last as long as it did when you were numbing yourself out to it. Basically, what happens when we drink alcohol is that we are forgetting how tired we might be. We're making ourselves unaware of how tired and exhausted we might be. And so we stay out later and later and later. So I want you to listen to the cues of your body. And I want you to realize, okay, now I'm kind of tired. Now I'm kind of bored. And that's okay. That doesn't mean I'm boring. That doesn't mean my friends are boring. It means that I'm just freaking tired and I get to go home and get some great rest. So do not overstay your available energy capacity. When you feel tired, just leave. Or if it gets to a certain time, 10:30, 11, just leave. Or if you feel the energy shift between you and everyone else's experience, just leave. You have the A-OK, you have the green light to go. You don't have to go tell everyone goodbye. You can do a good old, what they call an Irish exit and just leave. You can just go, and that's okay. I empower you to do that. Okay. Finally, knowing that because you are going to be a little more energetic, sensitive, a little more spongy, you might be a little tired the next day. I have had clients describe to me, and I've personally experienced an energetic hangover where you just feel like you were so stimulated that the next day that you're exhausted and it almost feels like a hangover, but you can't understand why. It's called an energetic hangover. A great example of this is one of my dear friends, Upasna, and her partner Chris were married last fall, and they had a kind of hybrid Indian American wedding ceremony. So they had a lot of the traditional Indian ceremonial pieces. And I was so excited because they really encouraged us to wear traditional formal wear. So I had this beautiful outfit that I had ordered. And I just felt like a goddess, first of all. I felt so wonderful and excited to have this experience. And plus, she's such a wonderful friend and had found such a beautiful partner. I just really wanted to be present in this experience. And I was so excited about getting ready and putting on this fab outfit and all these jewels and adornments. And one of my girlfriends did my makeup, and I forgot to do my energetic protection. I forgot to calibrate my nervous system. Let me tell you what, friends, this was not the event to forget it at. Because even though they are not drinkers, they actually had mocktails at the wedding, which were so delicious and amazing. And I've been to so many weddings recently where this is a thing. Even though it wasn't a huge boozy event, what happened within a couple hours of being there is that it was time to dance and time to party. And so they switched to traditional Indian club music and celebration music. And it was so beautiful and fascinating and fun. And her sisters and her cousins were so great about pulling me out on the dance floor. But what was interesting for me, and I just, first of all, have to really just hold some space for anyone who is, I can't imagine how overwhelming it is to come into another culture and not have people to kind of guide you around. I was so blessed that I had her cousins and her sisters to kind of be my little Sherpas for the evening and kind of guide me through the experience and invite me on the dance floor and encourage me to play and have fun. But because I'd never heard the music before and I wasn't familiar with the dancing, and we all know your girl loves to dance, I was in this state of everything was new. And so my mind was going at a million miles a minute, trying to watch and see the dance moves that everyone was using and understand the beat of the music. It wasn't like the YMCA where I knew what to expect. I was just in this state of wonderful observation. And it was so stimulating that I was so burnt out the next day. Let me just tell you what, I'm so glad I stayed, but I didn't calibrate. I didn't calibrate my nervous system. And I was in a highly stimulating environment, as beautiful as it was. And I was tired as heck. And so I just want to remind you, first of all, it happens to people who are very well practiced, very easy to get caught in this trap. And it's okay. It's okay and normal to feel energetically overwhelmed the next day. So rest. If you would have gone out drinking, you definitely would have slept a little more and eaten a little more. So nourish your body, sleep in, rest, and recalibrate. Don't assume all the time, especially in your early trek into sobriety, that you're going to be waking up at 5 a.m. every day and going. If you have a big event, so like me, like a wedding, luckily I didn't plan anything the next morning because I was able to take the day and just really be gentle with myself. So know that even though you're not hungover, you might still have a little bit of an energetic hangover and need some time to love up on yourself, to do some self-care. And that's normal and expected and okay. All right. So I hope that no matter if you consider yourself an introvert, an extrovert, someone who, does pretty well socially or not, that I've given you some new information today, specifically with the directive to calibrate your nervous system and just be really aware. I want you to know that you are feeling is normal, and it's very likely you feel on a very deep level, and it's great and wonderful. That's your superpower. And we want to teach you how to hone it a little bit. And I will go into that again in more episodes, but I hope that you found something that was helpful in this episode today. If there's something socially that I did not cover, please let me know and I will go over that in a future episode. I am a treasure trove of knowledge and experience. I've been doing this a long time, and there is nothing that I haven't heard from my clients or experienced in my own life. So I'm happy to answer your questions. Just shoot them over to me at Amanda Kuda on Instagram. And if you like this episode, please just take a screenshot and share it and tag me and let me know what hit home for you over on IG. And again, I am giving away a beautiful meditation to anyone who rates and reviews the podcast. So if you're willing to take 5 little seconds to do that, it is tremendously helpful, and it helps this podcast get out in front of other people like you who are curious about sobriety. And the more people who are curious, the better. We're in a movement today, my friends. So help spread the word by rating and reviewing. And when you do, screenshot it and send it to me. Screenshot it before you submit, and I'll send you access to that meditation. It's really beautiful, and I think you'll really like it. And that's it for today. Next month, we have some amazing guests coming in. So I hope that you will tune into our next episode, and I'll see you soon. Take care.